The valley shimmered under the oppressive grip of fear. Fear that clung to the people like a shadow at dusk. In this corner of the world, education was not a right, but a privilege. One fiercely guarded and unevenly bestowed. For girls, school gates had become borders, impenetrable. Barriers erected by forces that thrived on ignorance and submission. Yet, amidst this suffocating reality, a voice arose, clear and unwavering, piercing through the haze of the oppression. Born into a family that cherished learning, she grew up to embrace books and ideas. Her father, a schoolteacher with a passion for enlightenment, nurtured her. He nurtured her curiosity, and together they dreamed of a world where knowledge was a bridge to freedom, not a battleground. As a child, she marveled at the universe. Her questions endless, her resolve unyielding. In her, there was a fire, quiet but fierce, sparked by the injustice that surrounded her. When others trembled, she stood. When silence seemed the safer path, she spoke. At first, it was in the classrooms, and in small gatherings, her words were weaving dreams of open schools and empowered futures. But as the specter of extremists tightened its grip, her voice grew louder, carried on the airwaves and into homes through a pseudonymous blog that chronicled the daily struggles of girls denied their education. Her words were not without consequences. The threats came, insidious at first, then bold, their venom aimed at silencing the flame that she ignited. Each sentence she penned, each interview she granted, was a strike against the chains of oppression. They cannot stop me, she declared. Her defiance a beacon for others. But even flames can be doused, and one fateful day, as the bus carried her home from school, her resolve met brutality. A man boarded, his eyes hard with hate, his weapon a cold and merciless. Shots rang out, and she fell. The valley held its breath. She awoke days later in a foreign hospital. The world gazed upon her. Her survival was nothing short of a miracle. Her scars, a testament to both humanity's capacity for cruelty and its resilience. From her hospital bed, she vowed to fight harder, louder, bolder. The girl who once chronicled her fears now stood on the global stage, her voice a rallying cry for the millions who shared her struggle. And so, Malala Yousafzai, the girl from the Swat Valley, became a symbol of unyielding courage, a Nobel Prize laureate, a global advocate for education, and a champion of rights. She continues to wield her voice like a sword, cutting through the darkness of ignorance to light the way for countless others. In her, the world sees not just the power of education, but the strength of a soul unwilling to bow. Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm your host, Sergeant Q, and with me, as always, Doc Jess.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
All right, well, let's get into it, Jess. You've heard the story of Malala, I'm sure.
I have not.
No, you have not. No. This is a new story for you.
This is a new story for me.
Really? Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay.
So
this is not how I thought this was going to go. No, I'm just surprised. She's been on the world stage. When this happened, it was huge all over the media, all over social media.
Good question. When did it happen?
Probably 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay, yeah. I've been far away from any news source.
But
since 2007.
Yeah, I always stay up on what's happening. I don't watch the news, but I read a lot of news. I read a lot of stories, and I look for people who are changing the world. And so she is definitely one of them. I just recently saw her on an interview with a bunch of other women, and she's an adult now. She's an adult. She lives kind of here in the US and kind of in Europe. She hasn't gone back to her home, but
Where is she from?
Afghanistan.
Oh, okay. Yusuf. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if I saw her, I would know. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was, I want to say 10 or 12 when this happened. A gunman came on the bus. They were looking for her because she was speaking out, and they literally shot up the bus and shot her.
Yeah.
Specifically trying to kill her. And she survived.
Yeah.
And all it did was ignite a firestorm in the community.
Oh, sure.
Like it really,
I remember the story.
Yeah, it changed the trajectory of the whole dynamic of, okay, you want to be a terrorist and use violence, but now you're using violence against school kids specifically. You're not winning any hearts and minds with that.
Yeah.
And so she became a Nobel Prize laureate, and she speaks all over the world about oppression in her experience.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. I love how she took something that was really difficult for her, trying to be educated and grow up in a time and in a place where it was illegal for her to do so, and fighting against that oppression. And then to have something tragic like this happen, most people, and I don't blame them, but most people be like, okay, I'm just going to be quiet. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to go quietly away and live my life and never deal with that again.
Yeah.
And she did the exact opposite.
Yeah.
She went headlong into that fight and fought even harder.
What a great story also to open up with, as it's Christmas Eve, and so many families are going to probably enter into hostile Christmas environments or holiday environments, thinking tragically that maybe they have a challenge that awaits them when things like that are happening all over the world.
Yeah, it really puts some things into perspective, doesn't it?
So,
yeah.
Yeah. And that's another, like, as you're telling this story, my mind, because I'm picturing it, I knew it was in the Middle East. I knew she was Middle Eastern. And because I've been there and I've seen that level of oppression, I was there watching it unfold as if I was there. And it's those memories, it's those stories that I was firsthand witness to that help keep me with a positive perspective on life.
Right. You look at something that's terrible and you can find the good and focus in on that.
Yeah. And even as I go through trials and struggles, I do know it could always be worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's more like the way I get through things is like, yeah,
and for me, years went by after my deployment, coming home and just not dealing with my mental health, just not necessarily running from it, but just ignoring it. Like, it's fine. I'll be fine. And some days
surviving.
Surviving. Some days I was fine. Other days I was not, but I was just getting by. I had a good job, had friends, was on a pool league, just did all this stuff, was totally fine. Didn't have any problems. Shooting pool.
Yeah.
I was living my life and I thought that I was doing okay. And I was doing okay. But when I experienced another trauma and I hadn't dealt with all of that other stuff, my whole world collapsed almost overnight. Yeah. Within 6 months, I completely lost everything that I had worked hard for because I hadn't healed from my past trauma.
Yeah.
And I see that happen to a lot of people where they experience trauma and they ignore it. Could be childhood trauma, could be trauma from combat, could be trauma from whatever. And they just ignore it thinking it'll go away. And they do fine for a while until something else happens. A bad breakup, a loss of a family or friend, and they go right back to that addiction that they were trying to kick. Yeah. They go right back to that negative behavior. They go right back to that the dangerous behavior that they used to do.
Negative coping skill.
The negative coping skills. They go right back to that because they have that unhealed part of themselves. And that was me for sure. And it's during this time, it was December 22nd of 2007 when I was the victim of a home invasion robbery.
Oh, that's right.
And all of that stuff came flooding back because I never dealt with it. And it almost caused me to end my own life 6 months later.
Yeah.
So we're sharing this with you guys because we want you to understand that you are not alone. My story is not unique. We all experience trauma at some point in our lives. And if we don't do the things we need to do to heal from it, it's never going to heal properly. It's just like a wound. I give this example all the time. If you have a wound, you broke your arm, it'll heal. If you don't go do anything, don't bandage it up, don't go to the doctor, it's fine, it'll heal. But it's always going to cause you pain because it didn't heal properly. It's going to limit your capacity.
Yeah.
But if you go to see a professional, a doctor, they can reset the bone, give you some pain meds, then send you to physical therapy to rework that arm, it's going to heal properly and you're not going to have limited mobility. You may have some scarring, but it's not going to hurt when you touch it. It's the same thing with these mental wounds that we experience.
Yeah.
If we don't do the hard work, the physical therapy, the mental therapy, going to therapy, mental therapy, and do these things on a regular basis to heal that, we're always going to have limited capacity. And those things are always going to cause us pain. Like just mentioning that home invasion robbery used to just freak me out. And now I can talk about it. Why? Because it's not an open wound that's bleeding everywhere. It's a scar that I can talk about, but it's not going to cause me to be overwhelmed or shut down or isolate myself or drink myself into a stupor like it did before.
Yeah. Yeah. Same with my index trauma that I've shared with you guys in that first chapter of my book back on episode 52 is when the soldier died coming to cover me, right? And I lived with that survivor's guilt for so many years and I couldn't talk about it for so long, and I can talk about it so easily now. Not easily and with a sense of compassion and pride and thankfulness. It's very different now that I've put in the work. I've done the physical therapy up here, and I have a much healthier outlook on that trauma as well. So,
because it really is physiological. Inside your brain, there's neuroconnectors that aren't firing properly when you experience trauma. So you have to do those mental exercises to break down the scar tissue, basically, for lack of a better term. In your muscle, it's a scar tissue, but in your brain, it's kind of like plaque in your brain. It is cortisol and adrenaline that's stuck on those neuroconnectors that don't let them fire properly. And you've got to break that stuff down. By doing these mental exercises, you can do that. And then once you learn how to do that, you can take that thing that was holding you back for so long, and that can be the catalyst for your comeback story. And you can ride that like lightning to success. That's what I've done in my life. That's what Jess has done in her life, is we take those things that used to hold us back and we now use those to help other people be successful.
I also don't want to forget to bring up what some of you are back to for this week to watch.
You were gone 2 weeks ago, and I had to run that episode solo. So if you guys saw that, sorry.
It was good. It was a good one. Go back and watch it. Episode 74.
Yeah, it was just me. Because Jess was at a retreat. It was a couples retreat for her and her husband, and she learned some really cool stuff there. She teased you guys last week, and so this week we're going to give you the actual statistics. So recap for people really quick what you were talking about, and then give us the statistic.
I want to tie the statistic in because you had mentioned something at the end of last week's podcast about, right? We were talking about circadian rhythm and how important it is and how good it is for us.
Yes, good sleep.
That circadian rhythm is sleep and wake cycle. And watch last week or other episodes, we've talked endlessly about circadian rhythms. But Sergeant Q was talking about the first 30 minutes of your day and the last 30 minutes of your day being so important. And it reminded me of another statistic that I learned at this Gottman Institute training retreat, that the Gottman Institute is a very, very highly sought after, highly respected, majorly researched couples counseling foundation, right? The Gottmans is a couple. They've been married for 40, 50 plus years. And just a little bit of background on them is they did a 9-year study where they took their participants, which were married couples, and these married couples had to commit to this 9-year research. And what this
9 years, that's a long time for a study.
And what they did is every a few months, these couples would have to come in and stay an extended weekend in an apartment that is video and audio recorded the whole time. And what they did is they tracked their progress through these 9 years of their relationship, and they made notes of the couples that ended up thriving, did certain things, and the couples that ended up divorcing did certain things. And they came up with a 98% accuracy of predicting a failed marriage from this research. It's incredible. Anyways.
9 years. There's so many data points.
Oh my gosh.
The data analytics guy that had to put that together. Oh my, I'm a data nerd. Sorry. I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh.
So one statistic that they found in this research is 94% of conversations end the way they started.
So if they start negative, they're going to end negative?
94% of the time.
Huh.
So think about some of the times you've brought something up to your spouse, maybe in a contentious way. Did it end well for you?
No, probably not.
94% of the time? No. Think of times you've had maybe what we call a gentle startup. Hey, babe, this is a good time. Can I talk to you about this? I really love you. Do it in a good, gentle, loving way. 94% of the time, it ends well in a gentle and productive way.
Be careful with that one. I love you, but.
We don't ever say but. We say, I love you and. Replace your but with and. Really, really cool statistics. I highly, highly recommend the book 7 Principles of Marriage, I believe it is, by the Gottmans. And I am in the process of becoming Gottman certified counselor.
Fantastic.
So, it was really, really cool. And speaking of marriages and my husband, yesterday is 13 years clean for him.
Okay, so but is that
December 23rd?
December 23rd?
December 23rd. 2024 is 13 years clean for my husband.
That is incredible.
Yeah, really cool.
Wow, congratulations, Billy. Well done.
Yeah. Well done, good and faithful servant.
So speaking of marriage.
Yes.
I've got a hot tip for everybody who's listening right now. Our church, Faith and Victory Church in Auburn, Washington, is going to be hosting a free marriage seminar class.
Free marriage training and fellowshipping.
And it'll be sometime this spring, sometime in May, I think is when it's happening. But we will keep you posted. It's something that is just being rolled out right now. It's not even completely detailed out. All right. So here are some absolute no's. If you're considering this training, here are some absolute no's. No, you do not have to be a member of the church. No, you don't have to be a member of any church. No, you do not even have to be a Christian. The stuff that you're going to learn here is going to help you whether you're a Christian or not. Our church just wants to have strong families in the community, and we want to be able to show you the things that we've learned that can help you have a healthy, happy marriage, which you can then have a healthy, happy environment to raise your kids in. And there's one other no that you have, Jess. What's the other one?
No, you cannot be a member of Faith and Victory Church.
I did not know that. Okay. So you cannot be that's the fourth no. You cannot come if you are a member of the church. We're just going to be there serving.
Yeah. Or a member of any local church. This is specifically for our community who is not a member of a church. We just want to reach out to the community and help instill some really good communication tools and marriage tips and techniques from our senior pastors who are incredible marriage coaches and pastoral counselor types that are just going to give you thousands of dollars worth of information for free. And so
it literally saved your marriage.
Yep.
Like this stuff is incredible. I've spoken to them on multiple occasions for my marriage. It's helped me tremendously, just learning how to better communicate. So as we get more details about that, we're going to continue to roll this information out, how you can sign up. We'll share with you that every single week as we get information. It'd be really cool to see you guys there. It's going to be Faith and Victory Church, Auburn, Washington, probably going to happen in May.
Late May.
late May. So you've got some time to put it on a calendar. But I would tell you, as soon as the signups come out, to get on it, because I can
It is
imagine
limited space.
Yeah, this is going to fill up pretty fast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we have for the mental health janitors. Don't forget to
like and subscribe, comment what you like, what you don't like, what you want more of.
Because we want to do 3 things here. We want to educate, empower, and encourage you on your mental health journey. You are the only one who can do this work to save yourself. For the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sergeant Q.
I'm Doc Jess.
And we're out. Merry Christmas.